Foreign Minister Rinkevich, you are here in Georgia to witness the ratification of the Association Agreement and the DCFTA at the Georgian Parliament. Latvia was the first country to ratify the Association Agreement between the EU, Georgia, Ukraine and Moldova. It has to be mentioned that Latvia has been a constant and an active supporter of Georgia's European integration. How would you evaluate this step taken by Georgia towards its European integration?
Well, I think that today is a very important day for Georgia, and ratification of the EU-Georgia's association agreement is not the end of the road to Europe. I think it's just a beginning of a new chapter, and I do hope that when all EU countries will ratify the agreement, when agreement will enter into full force, not only into provisional application from the 1st of October. And of course, we should develop also a roadmap for Georgia for further integration into common European space.
How important a mechanism is the association agreement for the realization of the European strivings of the participating countries?
Well, I think that both parts, political and economic, are very important. You have now a special mechanism for dialogue with European Union. That's one thing, but second issue I want to underline that implementation of the comprehensive and deep free trade agreement, also standards, procedures that are required to be implemented are very important to prepare Georgia's economy for much closer integration into the whole European economy. And I think that after full implementation of the free trade agreement, after adoption of all standards, all procedures as required by this agreement, Georgia's economy will be more competitive, able to be an equal partner with other EU countries. And I'm very much looking forward to that, so that we have also a very good and strong trading partner in this region.
In a short while, Latvia will assume the presidency of the Council of the European Union. What will be the priorities of the Council of the European Union under the Latvian leadership?
Yes, we have made already the decisions that our priorities will be, first of all, strengthening the global and regional role of the European Union. And we want to focus on two regions, Eastern neighbors or Eastern partners. So we do hope that next year in Riga summit, where all 6 countries of Eastern Partnership, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, as well as Ukraine, Moldova, and Belarus, are going to participate, and also to meet with heads of state and government of the European Union, we will be able to actually outline more tailored roadmaps for those countries of the Eastern Partnership, like Georgia, like Moldova, like Ukraine, that really wants to be closer with Europe, and also to find more individual approach to those countries that are not seeking, let's say, so close integration with the European Union. Another region is Central Asia and Afghanistan, where I think also we should take particular attention and note of those events as they are going to develop after withdrawal of NATO troops from Afghanistan. Also, I think that this region is very important also for the European Union when it comes to economic cooperation as well as cooperation in the field of energy. The second priority is very much EU priority. It's development of EU's economy, growth, and also, of course, increasing attention is going to be paid also to jobs, to fighting unemployment, particularly unemployment in very sensitive social groups like youth, like also those people who cannot get a job for quite a long time, or so-called structural unemployment. And the third priority is development of EU's digital market.
The EU has been going through changes amongst its top officials. Jean-Claude Juncker recently assumed his post as president of the EU Commission. However, his candidacy has not been without great disputes amongst member states. How does Latvia choose its candidates for the top EU jobs?
Well, our position when it comes to top officials of the European Union, namely President of the European Union Council as well as High Representative of Foreign Policy, is as follows. First of all, we think that there is a need to have proper system of balance, or balances, I would say. First of all, we think that those top positions, including actually also, of course, President of the Commission, but he has been already chosen, and also European Parliament confirmed him a couple of days ago. So that there is a need for balance between political parties that form majority of the European Parliament. Second is we certainly see that there is a need for gender balance, because this is also very important when we look from larger let's say picture and policies of the European Union as such. We have always been advocating gender balance as well for top jobs, and I think that Latvia also is one good example that this really works, also on national level. And the third very important principle for us, or very important balance for us, would be also that one of those top positions would be going to countries that have joined EU in 2004 or later. So we haven't had so far, let's say, President of the European Council or High Representative or President of the Commission that comes from the region of Central Europe, Northeast Europe, or Eastern Europe. And we think that it is a high time to have also somebody from our region to be appointed for one of those very important positions. Also, if we speak about High Representative, we would love to see that High Representative has a good grasp of both neighborhoods, Southern and Eastern, and that High Representative understands complexity of situation in our neighborhood, also complexity of Eastern Partnership, and pays also attention to those issues.
After the recent EU parliamentary elections, the number of Eurosceptics within the structure of the EU has risen. What effect will this tendency have on the future of the organization, and does this mean that the expansion of the EU will no longer be a priority for the next 5 years?
After economic and financial crisis, of course, people are not happy so much with the pace of recovery. In many countries there have been criticism against governments that they have not been able to tackle the crisis and the aftermath of the economic and financial crisis. And certainly very often, unfortunately, very often national politicians want to blame Brussels, want to blame European Union for decisions or for mistakes they are making on national level. So from that point of view, I would say that first of all, the main task to, let's say, fight Euroscepticism or Europessimism is in national capitals by national politicians. Second, I would also want to say that if we look at parliamentary elections we just had in May, if we look at general results, we see that a very solid majority belongs to those parties that are pro-European, that think that European Union should develop further, that from their point of view only European Union can actually be a proper response to 21st century political and economic challenges the globe actually is experiencing. So from that point of view, I wouldn't be so, let's say, pessimistic saying that those people who are opposing EU as such, Eurosceptics or Euro-pessimists, have gained. But we have seen, of course, that the number has increased. And certainly, I would say that the European Union in next 5 years, of course, has to address, first of all, issues that are related with growth of economy and with unemployment, and actually to provide boost for economic growth, not only for the Union as such, but also for all member states. I think that voters have shown that this is priority number one. Second, what we have seen currently already as quite a tragedy in our eastern neighborhood. I here refer to Ukraine, but we have seen as quite a tragedy in our southern neighborhood, and here I refer to Syria, show that EU has to develop and strengthen its foreign policy as well as common security and defense policy. And I think that's another major task for new European Commission, new President of the Council, also new High Representative. When we talk about enlargement, certainly that there are voices saying that we should postpone enlargement. However, I just want to say that it is our own credibility of European Union that if countries are ready to join the EU, they have fulfilled all criteria, and also EU should admit them. So I wouldn't rule out EU enlargement in next 5 years, but certainly we can admit only those countries into the European Union that are fulfilling all the criteria, that have done their homework. Currently, unfortunately, all of candidates have to do a lot of homeworks, and certainly only when those homeworks are being done, then those countries can be admitted. But from Latvia's point of view, as soon as any country is ready, as soon as we evaluate the readiness from the point of view of the European Commission, from the point of view of the European Council, then of course we should make a decision, and those countries should join the Union.
The Foreign Relations Committee of the Latvian Parliament has passed a resolution according to which Latvia supports the NATO open door policy and the granting of the membership action plan to Georgia during the Summit of Wales. The North Atlantic Alliance provided Georgia with a substantive package of cooperation, which will mean more NATO in Georgia and more Georgia in NATO. What is the Latvian position with regards to NATO's proposal, and why was it not possible to reach a unanimous decision about granting Georgia the membership action plan?
Well, as you know, Latvia has always supported granting membership action plan to Georgia, and that has been also our position during discussions within NATO and also during last NATO foreign ministers meeting. Unfortunately, there has not been unanimous opinion that it is possible, and I think that as second best option we have developed is a very robust package for Georgia to boost its defense capabilities, to have much closer cooperation between NATO and Georgia, and actually to some extent, if all those measures are going to be approved in the summit in Wales, then that package would be even more ambitious than a kind of, you know, traditional map or traditional membership action plan. So from that point of view, we still have some work to do together with our NATO partners, as well as with Georgia, to have best possible outcome in Wales summit in September. And I want to say that also our Foreign Relations Committee in the Parliament takes very seriously Georgia's aspirations to NATO and has continuously expressed support for the government and for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs when we are fighting for map to Georgia. So their resolution has been another kind of, proof that also at the parliamentary level there is a full support for Georgia being admitted into the membership action plan process. I do not want to speculate currently when and how we can get into the stage when Georgia gets MAP, but I want to say that all friends of Georgia must continuously work with all NATO allies and to convince NATO allies that it's the right time to have MAP for Georgia, but also Georgia has to continue its efforts in defense reform, in Euro-Atlantic integration, and I'm sure that combined those two processes will produce necessary result. And I just want to say that we are also very grateful to Georgian government, to Georgian people, that Georgia has been very active participant in NATO-led operation in Afghanistan, now also in EU-led operations in Africa, and we have always pointed the good example of Georgia to our allies that Georgia sometimes is doing much more than some of NATO members themselves. So for that we really thank you, and let's continue to work together so that also your country becomes a member of the MAP process, let's say so.
Thank you.
Thank you.